didn't want that type of fighter. Ernie was a different type of fighter that understood the system a little differently than Jim. So therefore, he was embraced by the system.
Ernie Davis remains an unforgettable figure in the world of the NFL. His playing style and personality left an indelible mark on fans and the sport alike. Tragically, his promising life was cut short by acute monocytic leukemia, a devastating illness that took him far too soon. His death cast a profound shadow over the NFL. Ernie Davis was a standout college football player for the Syracuse Orangemen and won the Heisman Trophy in 1961, becoming the first African American to receive the prestigious award. After his college success, he was picked first overall by the Washington Redskins in the 1962 NFL Draft. However, he was traded almost immediately to the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunately, that same year, Davis was diagnosed with leukemia. Tragically, he passed away at the age of 23 before he ever had the chance to play in a professional game. Before we tell you all about him, do be sure to subscribe to our channel. While preparing for the college all-star game against the Green Bay Packers in Chicago during the summer of 1962, Davis woke up with a swollen neck and was quickly hospitalized. Initially, doctors suspected he had mumps or mononucleosis, but it was soon discovered that he had acute monocytic leukemia. He began treatment right away, and his condition briefly improved after receiving chemical treatments at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, achieving a 4 to 5 month remission. Unfortunately, leukemia proved to be incurable, and Davis passed away at the young age of 23 on May 18, 1963, at Cleveland Lakeside Hospital. Davis's death was deeply felt across the nation. Both houses of the United States Congress honored him with eulogies. His wake, held at the neighborhood house in Elmira, New York, saw over 10,000 mourners come to pay their respects. During the funeral, a message from President Kennedy was read aloud to the crowd. Davis was laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery in Elmira. To commemorate his legacy, a statue of Davis now stands in front of Ernie Davis Academy, the school named in his honor. Another statue is located on the Syracuse University campus near Hendricks Chapel and the Quad, where it's a focal point for pre-game pep rallies. In the fall of 1979, Davis was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Additionally, the best high school football players from the Southern Tier region of New York were invited to play in the Ernie Davis Classic, a game traditionally held on Thanksgiving Day or the night before in tribute to his memory and impact on the sport. Though his career was tragically brief, Davis captured the hearts of millions.
His hero, Jim Brown. And like Brown, Davis had an extraordinary college career.
Davis was born in New Salem, Pennsylvania. Tragically, his father was killed in an accident shortly after he was born, leaving his mother, Avis Marie Davis Fleming, unable to raise him on her own. At just 14 months old, Ernie went to live with his maternal grandparents, Willie and Elizabeth Davis, who took care of him. When he turned 12, Davis moved to Elmira, New York, to live with his mother and her new husband. In Elmira, he quickly made a name for himself by excelling in baseball, basketball, and football during grade school. He attended Elmira Free Academy, where his talent shone brightly. He earned 2 All-American honors for his outstanding performance in football. As his senior year came to an end, Davis was highly sought after by many colleges. Ultimately, he decided to attend Syracuse University, a choice influenced by Jim Brown, a Syracuse alumnus and football legend. This decision marked the beginning of Davis's extraordinary journey in the world of football. Davis played football at Syracuse University under coach Ben Schwartzwalder from 1959 to 1961, and during those 3 years, he gained national fame for his outstanding performances. He earned first-team All-American honors twice, a testament to his exceptional skill on the field. In his sophomore year, Davis led the Syracuse team to a national championship in 1959. The team had a perfect 11-0 season, and they capped it off with a 23-14 victory over the Texas Longhorns in the 1960 Cotton Bowl Classic. Davis's remarkable performance in that game earned him the title of Most Valuable Player. It was during the season that Al Millett, a sports writer for the Elmira Star-Gazette, gave Davis the nickname Elmira Express, which perfectly captured his speed and agility. As a junior in 1960, Davis set a record with an impressive average of 7.8 yards per carry and was the third leading rusher in the country with 877 yards. He rushed for 100 yards in 6 out of 9 games that season. Despite his remarkable efforts, the Syracuse Orangemen finished the season with a 7-2 record and didn't play in a postseason bowl game. In his senior year, 1961, Davis continued to shine as the Orangemen ended the season with an 8-3 record. They concluded their season with a narrow 15-14 victory over the Miami Hurricanes in the Liberty Bowl held at Philadelphia's Franklin Field. At that time, college football had limited substitution rules, so players often played both offense and defense, adding to the challenge and showcasing Davis's versatility and endurance. During the 1960 Cotton Bowl visit to Dallas, Texas, Davis and his teammates faced a harsh reality of the racial discrimination that was widespread in the American South at the time. According to author Jocelyn Salim, things took an uncomfortable turn at the banquet that followed the game. Davis was informed that while he could accept his award, he and his black teammates would have to leave the segregated facility shortly afterward. Initially, they were allowed to enjoy their meals at the banquet. However, when dessert was served, a gentleman quietly approached them with the unwelcome news that they would need to leave once the doors opened for the public dance later in the evening. Davis and his teammates, feeling the weight of this discrimination, prepared to leave as instructed. When the other players found out what was happening, they also wanted to leave in solidarity. However, they were advised that leaving could create a bigger issue, so they stayed, reflecting the difficult choices they often had to make in the face of racial injustice. John Brown, who wasn't just a teammate of Davis at Syracuse, but also at the Cleveland Browns, his roommate and a close friend, gives a different version of the Cotton Bowl banquet incident. According to an article in the Houston Chronicle, all the players from the game attended the banquet. Brown remembers that the teams were seated on opposite sides of the room. After everyone had finished eating and the trophies were handed out, the 3 black Syracuse players, Davis, Brown, and Art Baker, were asked to leave. Local NAACP representatives took them to another party in Dallas. One of Davis's Syracuse teammates, Gerhard Schwedes, suggested that the entire Syracuse team should leave the banquet in support of their black teammates. Unfortunately, this suggestion was dismissed by the Syracuse officials. When the Chronicle asked Brown if the film The Express accurately depicted his friend, he responded, in short, no. Ernie Davis made history by becoming the first black athlete to win the Heisman Trophy, the highest honor in college football, and he also won the Walter Camp Memorial Trophy after his senior season at Syracuse in 1961. President John F. Kennedy, who had been following Davis's career, requested a meeting with him while Davis was in New York to receive the trophy. Later that year, on February 3, 1963, when Elmira celebrated Davis's achievements, Kennedy sent a heartfelt telegram praising Davis's excellence both on and off the field. During his time at Syracuse, Davis wore the number 44, which had been famously worn by Jim Brown to establish a tradition at the school. This tradition was honored on November 12, 2005, when Syracuse retired the number in a special ceremony. After winning the Heisman Trophy, Davis persuaded Floyd Little to choose Syracuse over Notre Dame, further influencing the program. Davis also played 1 season of basketball at Syracuse during the 1960-61 year. To honor all the athletes who wore the number 44, Syracuse University was granted permission by the United States Postal Service to change its zip code to 13244. While at Syracuse, Davis joined the Sigma Alpha Mu fraternity, becoming the first African-American member not just at the Syracuse chapter, but for the national fraternity as a whole. He was also involved in the university's Army ROTC program and was commissioned as a second lieutenant upon graduation. Davis was posthumously inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1979 and was recognized by the Pigskin Club of Washington, D.C. for his outstanding contributions to college football. Davis was selected as the first overall pick in the 1962 NFL Draft on December 4, 1961. The Washington Redskins, who picked him, weren't his final destination, though. Just after being drafted by Washington, Davis was almost immediately traded to the Cleveland Browns. Interestingly, Davis was also drafted 2 days earlier by the Buffalo Bills of the American Football League, giving him options in both leagues. At the time, the Redskins were under the control of their founder and owner, George Preston Marshall, who was known for his racist views. Marshall had refused to integrate his team for years, holding out longer than any other team in the league. His resistance to signing black players was largely due to his desire to cater to his predominantly Southern fan base. The situation changed only when Interior Secretary Stuart Udall gave Marshall an ultimatum: integrate the team by the start of the 1962 season or risk losing the Redskins' lease on DC Stadium. This stadium, owned by the city, was under federal oversight because Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital. Marshall, unable to directly draft a black player himself, left the decision to his general manager and head coach Bill McPeak. McPeak chose Davis, but Davis refused to play for the Redskins and demanded a trade. This led to a deal where Davis was sent to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for Bobby Mitchell and a first-round draft pick. Coach Paul Brown of the Browns, known for his autonomy in football decisions, managed to trade without involving the team's owner Art Modell. The Browns had a tradition of allowing Brown a lot of freedom in football matters, and this was no exception. Davis was thrilled to join the Browns, especially since his former Syracuse teammate John Brown was there, and he admired Jim Brown, who was already a star with the team. Davis signed a groundbreaking 3-year, $200,000 contract with the Browns in late December 1961 while he was in San Francisco preparing for the East-West Shrine game. Although initially reported as $80,000, the contract actually included $80,000 for playing football with a $15,000 signing bonus, $60,000 for image marketing rights, and another $60,000 for off-season work. At the time, this was the most lucrative contract ever given to an NFL rookie. The Browns' hope to pair Davis with Jim Brown was cut short when Davis was diagnosed with leukemia. This diagnosis created tension between Coach Paul Brown and Art Modell. Modell brought in doctors who suggested that Davis could still play, but Coach Brown, feeling that allowing Davis to play could affect team morale, disagreed. This dispute contributed to Modell's decision to replace Brown before the 1963 season. Though Davis was allowed to practice without contact and assisted in drawing up game plans, he never played in a regular season game. His only appearance at Cleveland Stadium was a preseason game at August 16, 1962, where he ran onto the field under a spotlight. Following his death, the Browns honored Davis by retiring his number 45 jersey. Well, guys, that's all for this one. But if you happen to like NFL legends, please make sure to check out our latest videos about Cookie Gilchrist on our channel NFL Icons. I'm sure you're going to love it.